Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Comrade. Today, I have a very badass guest with me. She is an educator and engineer turned professional freediving instructor. And she's probably the first and only woman in India who's crossed the depth of 40 meters in one breath. Please welcome Smruti Mirani.
Thank you so much, Deepak.
Welcome to Cochin. First time here, right?
Yeah, this is my first time in Kerala.
Cochin and Kerala, how are you liking it?
It's welcoming, warm, and a nice break from the cold weather that I was in Ahmedabad. Yeah,
Ahmedabad's cold right now, right? But
yeah.
it gets warm over there as well, right? Like,
Yeah, December can be a little cold over there. Yeah.
okay. You like the tropics?
Oh, absolutely.
You must be used to
Even
it, like diving all over the place.
yeah. Even as a diver, I actually have a wetsuit, which is like a thin 2 wetsuit.
Right.
And I thought to myself that, you know what, I only want to dive in conditions where I can wear this wetsuit and in the
It's
tropics. So
nice and
yeah,
warm.
it's really amazing to be diving in like really good warm conditions. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Kerala.
Thank you so much.
Glad you're having a good time. So tell me about yourself, like how your career. You said you're an engineer and an educator, and now you're a freediver. So how that go about? Okay, first of all, for our audience, please, can you explain what freediving is?
Sure, Deepak. Freediving is where basically you hold your breath
Mm-hmm.
and you are underwater, either swimming underwater or diving deep into the ocean. It used to be historically, like people used to free dive into the ocean to look for food, to catch fish, or even find pearls. And now it has become this really beautiful thing where people can take it up as a way of life, or as a sport, or an experience, or they can even go and compete and push their limits in free diving.
Right. Okay. And then how did you transition from engineering to being basically a human mermaid?
Uh, so it was actually a very conscious yet organic journey, if I might say.
Okay.
Conscious because I would often sit and reflect, sometimes way too often. Hey, what do I want to do with my life? Where is my life or career going?
Okay.
And I would be very conscious of the fact that, hey, like what I'm doing or where I am right now, this is not me. This is not what I'm meant to do, or this is not where I'm meant to be.
This was when you were in corporate.
Yeah,
Right.
and a trip to the Andamans, which was actually a vacation at the time
Mm-hmm.
in early 2022, it just changed and transformed my life forever, because that's when I really felt that disconnect, from say big cities and the hustle and bustle of cities,
Mm-hmm.
where I realized that, oh wait, what if I'm an island girl?
Right.
And then when freediving found me, it was a very natural. Uh, l- I leaned towards it. I leaned in so strongly because it was everything that I embody and everything that I want to embody. It's an adventurous activity. It nudges you to be more mindful and more aware. It is so blissful and peaceful. So when I thought of these things, that, oh, this sounds like me, or
Okay.
this is what I aspire to be. So
Right.
that is how free
Okay.
diving
Is
eventually
that the first
happened.
time you free dove? Like, is dove a word? Is free dove during that trip to the Andamans when you went? Was that the first time?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
And we were out there, we were snorkeling, and
Okay.
somebody just dropped down.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, how did you do that?
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, you just do this. I was like, but how?
Right.
And then I would try to go out there snorkeling and just dive down to the bottom of the sea, wherever,
Okay.
the seabed is like a few meters. And life came a full circle when I was very recently back in Andamans, now as an instructor. And I was just chilling, and we were all snorkeling around. And there was this small kid. And when
Mm-hmm.
he saw me dive down to the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
the ocean, and that was his reaction. Oh my God, how did you do that?
Right.
Yeah. So it was
Right,
really
right, right.
beautiful.
And this was in 2023.
2022,
Oh,
early
2022.
2022,
Early
when I was
2022.
in
Okay,
Andamans.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's quite recent actually.
Yeah,
Okay, but you were like a water baby before that. You liked the ocean. You loved swimming.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I have so many memories and pictures of my younger brother and I. We would sort of climb onto my dad's shoulders as like little monkeys
Right.
when we would go out for some vacations to Goa and other places.
Right.
And I would always be the first one in, last one out of the
Right. Right.
water, may
Right.
it be rivers, lakes, ocean, anything.
Perpetually tanned.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's one gripe most Indian parents have when their children spend too much time on the beach and the water. You're just gonna get tanned and come back like really, super tanned.
For sure.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. So in 2022, you do a course like once you dove for the first time and you realized you love this. Did you like do a course following that or okay? Uh,
Yes,
okay.
yes. In 2022, I was actually at that point when where I had just stopped relating to what I was doing, where I was living, all of those things. And post COVID, it gave us a lot of time to even reflect on things, and the world was just literally changing. So soon after, I actually went for my first course when I was visiting Europe, and we were
Right.
actually on a family holiday vacation to Europe. And I did my first course in Malta, where it was a very thrilling
Yeah,
experience.
Malta's so beautiful. The water's amazing. It's
So
gorgeous.
beautiful,
Yeah.
so different than anything that I've seen before.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
that was also the last time that I was scuba diving. So before that, I was a scuba diver. So that was one of the last times that I remember scuba diving, for a week, and I was free
Okay.
diving for a week, and that made all the difference in my journey of free diving. Yeah.
So when did you get your scuba certification done? So how long have you been a scuba diver?
I've been a scuba diver since 2019.
2019. Okay.
When 2019 was starting, I actually did my open water certification for scuba
Okay.
diving,
Okay.
and then I would always lean towards planning scuba diving trips. So everywhere I would just look for an opportunity
To
to
dive,
go
yeah.
for a scuba diving trip. And in fact, there was a conference happening for a topic that I was really interested in at the time in Australia. I was like,
Okay.
oh, I have to go there.
Right.
The real reason was that I wanted to dive in the Great Barrier Reef.
And did you?
Yeah, yeah, I was scuba diving in the Great Barrier
How was
Reef.
it? It's a very protected area now, right? Like they don't
Yes.
allow too many people.
Yeah, I figure. And
Yeah.
at the time, it was a liverboard and it was a diving
Okay.
experience, and it was beautiful,
Okay.
gorgeous.
Okay. Wow. 2019 you got your scuba done, and 2022 you switched to free diving.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
And now, what do you prefer now more? Free diving or scuba? Free diving.
Uh, I personally prefer free diving, although I do miss scuba diving sometimes when the waters are really deep, and I know that there's a lot of interesting marine life and a lot of interesting things happening in the deep waters, which
Right.
I can't see.
Right.
So I personally, of course, do prefer free diving, but yeah, it
Right.
can be a very, very
I mean,
personal
yeah, so if
choice.
you
Yeah.
wanna, I'd assume that if you wanna go down and actually spend time and explore,
Yes.
scuba is a lot better that way. Like
Yes.
free diving, you're on a breath.
Yes.
So
True.
what's the longest you can hold your breath for? Like you've held your breath.
So, with free diving, we practice multiple things. So, say when you are diving, and we're practicing like how deep you can go, and that's the main motive. And we practice our breath hold just static, being still in a pool in a confined, safe area. Before I tell you like how long I have held my breath for the longest
Okay.
time,
Okay.
I must mention that all of these things, like we always do when we are with a trained freediving buddy or a
Right.
coach or an instructor.
Right.
Like please do not practice this by
Right. Right.
yourself
Right.
in your own pool. This is a very
Do not try this at
serious.
home.
Yeah, it's a very important safety concern.
Right.
To answer your question, the maximum breath hold that I've done is about 4 minutes 40 seconds.
Oh. Oh. Okay. And this was in during a dive. a deep dive
No,
situation?
this was, we practice
Okay.
static
Oh, this
breath
was
holding.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Not during the dive.
During the dive, it changes again. So, for context, uh, my deepest dives, would be under 2 minutes.
Okay.
So the idea is to optimize your speed, your technique, and the effort that you're putting in during your deepest dives, and the time in your deepest dives you want to again optimize for it.
Right.
So for example, I would still like to be a little faster during my deeper dives. So for context, a 40-meter dive, I think it took me about 1 minute 50 seconds, and it should be anywhere around say 1 minute 30 seconds. That is optimal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're also exerting a lot during the dive. Unlike, say, a surface when you're static and holding your breath, when you're diving, you are to a certain point, you're kicking, you're moving, you're exerting, right? Okay.
Yes. And as you will also very soon learn,
Yes.
the whole point of freediving or learning freediving is that how can you, with maximum efficiency, like even by doing less, how can you get the most results possible? So you
Right.
want to be efficient, you want to reduce your drag, and you want to relax your mind and body so that you have more comfortable dive, you can stay underwater for a longer period of time, and you can make use of all the different adaptations that the body goes through when you're diving. So
Okay.
that's the whole experience of free diving, and when you learn free diving, that's what you want to do. With minimal effort, how can you get maximum results when
Okay.
you're free
Yeah,
diving?
but there's a learning curve to this, right? Obviously, I mean, it takes a bit of time to achieve that optimal optimization of sorts, right?
Absolutely. That's the journey.
Okay.
That's the journey of learning and practicing freediving, where you want to be as smooth, graceful, efficient underwater,
Right.
That's the whole journey. Yeah.
How many dives are you in now? Like since that
Oh,
fateful 2022 dive, since then, so how many dives have you?
I haven't actually counted my dive
You
sessions.
don't have to log them or anything because
In
you're a trainer
some
also, right?
systems, they do
Okay.
log their freediving
Right.
sessions as well.
Okay.
Um, Give or take, if I have to estimate, it'll be 50 to 70 dive sessions, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Again, this is a very ballpark figure. Because I was training quite a bit in Bali in 2023, and then I was training quite a bit in Thailand. So I'd
Okay.
keep going, for visa reasons and for whatever, if I need to come back for something, then I'd keep going back to these places, and then I'd keep training more and keep learning more from some of the best people in the world. Yeah.
Okay. And these are places which are good for diving, right? I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
set it up. The infrastructure is quite friendly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially Bali, it has, in terms of even the waters, you literally step out like from the shore, you start swimming, and within 5 minutes, you will get very calm waters. Like these are like protected in the Bay Area, and you'll get a depth of about 50 plus meters where you can keep practicing free diving with the reference of the line that we use. You can keep practicing free diving in a very safe and protected sort of reliable conditions.
Right.
And because of these conditions, of course, there are people from across the world, who keep visiting, especially this community in Bali, which is in this place called Ahmed
Okay.
in Bali,
Okay.
and
Okay.
where there's so many free divers, at least 100 to 200 free divers at any given point in that
Okay.
place, in that small diving town. Yeah,
Right.
I'd say.
How big a community is it in India right now?
In India, I would estimate that there are anywhere between 10 to 15 or maximum 20 instructors,
Right.
active instructors
Right.
in India for freediving. And for divers, we do have a small informal community on WhatsApp, and there would be about 100 plus people on that.
Okay.
And I'm sure there'll be like a lot more divers in India.
Right.
What I'm curious to explore is also these communities, like who are, say, living near the coasts or who might be freediving, even
Without
without
knowing that
knowing
they're actually freediving.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. How I like to think about is imagine that you are, climbing a mountain,
Right.
and there'll be these small kids who are, like who grew up and who were born on the mountains,
Right.
and
They
they
just
would like climb the
they feel like
mountains like
running past you.
yeah, and they'd be wearing like, if at all,
Yeah,
like some, yeah, slippers, if at all.
I've
Yeah,
literally had that same
yeah.
experience. This was in a trek. We had gone for a trek like a couple years ago. I think like 8 9 years ago. This was somewhere in Ooty. So we were staying at a resort in the early morning at like 5 in the morning. There was going to be a trek. So they said like pack so and so and so, get so and so boots, and
Yes.
wearing a hat and everything, and we're like going through the jungle. And
Yeah.
it's like okay, single file. Okay, the leader stops every few minutes, turns around and checks everyone's okay. To sip of water, rehydrate.
Yes.
Suddenly, see a couple of kids just like run past me, like, and they're like, oh yeah, they're local kids. Don't mind them. They just run up, like no trek, nothing. It's just like some bare minimal shoe, and they're just like running up past
Yes.
each other. And we're like, okay, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So oftentimes when I meet somebody, like
right,
who is so natural, like grew up on a coastal town or, on an island
right.
and would be in and out of water, like ever since they
They
grew
were
up,
born,
they
yeah,
were, yeah, growing up, like in and
right.
out of water, they're diving. And then you feel okay. I'm with all my
All your
gear and
gear and
fancy things, and and yeah, and then you look at them, it's like they're looking at you. Yeah, but I'd love to meet more people, dive with more people, who have
right,
been water babies, literally,
right, right, right,
and been doing this, in a much more natural way as well. I'd love to
right,
meet them.
right, right. So when you coming back to when you realize that this is something you want to do professionally, like when you made that decision, like was it like just a spur of the moment thing, or you just realized like okay, like was there any internal conflict or any sort of internal turmoil that was going on at that point when you made that decision that quitting corporate? And we'll come to the external oppositions later, but before that, like internally, was it an easy decision for you?
The journey, as I mentioned, that I would always check in with myself and reflect on, hey, where am I? Who am I? What is it that I really want? Uh, in fact, there is an exercise that I just did this week because the year is starting right now, right? So the whole idea is that there is always this strong urge or a strong voice from the inside that keeps guiding you. And for me as well, it was a no-brainer.
Right.
It was on some level a no-brainer.
Okay.
The whole idea was that how do I make it happen? Why am I doing this? And how do I make it sustainable, and how do I learn not just things related to diving, but everything else that I need to know to share this passion with other people.
Okay.
For to make it more tangible, what I'm saying is that I became an instructor around June, and then when I started putting my courses out there and sharing with people that hey, I'm offering that you can start and learn with me. So it took me a while to learn how to even get the word out and to reach the right kind of people who would really appreciate and benefit
Right.
from the freediving journey.
Okay.
Also, the internal dialogue and the voice, as I mentioned, it was always there, very strong, and which actually helped me overcome a lot of challenges, including physical health issues that I faced during this journey,
Okay.
let alone the external
Right. Right. Right.
expectations. The key being that once you have a direction that, hey, like this is where I'm heading, it's then easier to figure out the pieces that, okay, like how can I reach here? And these can be the steps, or this can be the path or the steps.
Okay.
But this is where I want to go. That was a no-brainer for me.
Okay. So this inner voice, right? This listen to this inner voice. Is this something which you've always done, like in other facets of your life? Is that an exercise which you've always done, like listening to that and then just staying focused on that, or
I would say that it has been a conscious effort in the recent past,
okay,
that I have worked on myself to also be able to be absolutely clear that, okay, hey, this is what my inner voice is trying to tell me, and I have worked on it consciously in the past few years.
right,
Earlier, there were times when it would feel so obvious that, hey, this is what you need to do, but you would still keep going or keep hustling or keep going in a direction that is not even yours.
right,
For example, if you're, say, working really, really hard, like all hours of your day, but towards something that's not your goal,
right,
that's not your life, then it just doesn't make sense. You'll still not be happy at the end of it. And for me, I think there was a part of it that was always there,
okay,
but now it's much stronger because, as I mentioned, that I consciously work on it and sit with myself and sometimes meditate over some things, that I'm looking to know that, hey, what do I do in this case? Where do I go from here? And I would consciously take some time, reflect, meditate, and go inward to find whatever answers it is that I'm looking for.
would I be wrong in saying that it would have been a lot easier, or it has been a lot easier for you to make this decision to, make this, especially this career shift, like because you're single, you don't have dependence on you. So I'm saying this in for the benefit of other individuals who might be married, who have kids, especially women. For men, even now, it's still a lot easier. I'm not saying it's easy, it's easier. But for women, especially married women who have kids, they decide, okay, now I want to, switch my career and I want to do free diving, I want to travel the world and free dive. That making that decision, like there might be an inner voice, but it's a lot easier when you're in a position that you're doing it for your own self gratification, right?
I would say so because I have not known any other way, at least
Okay.
so far. And the people who have come in my life so far, we had extremely different ideas of what kind of a life we wanted,
Okay.
and at least one of us would not have been happy in that life.
Right.
What I would say to this is, again, disclaimer that I don't have a lot of experience in having a family, kids, but the whole idea is that one, any change that you're looking at, it need not be this drastic, right? It's also about changing your perspective towards something that you're already doing, or adding little things to your life that you feel that are more aligned with the life that you want.
Okay.
And something that I really resonate with, and I do this often, is to think of what my day looks like.
Okay.
That a lot of things, like from the outside, they might look fancy, they might look very cool and whatnot. But then you just have to look at what your day looks like in a granular way. Where are you? Who are you spending your time with? What are you eating? What types of conversations are you having? What are you doing for work? And when you look at that day and you just tweak that day according to the direction that you want your life to take, and
Okay.
eventually it'll be a brilliant day, like an ideal day, or as close to an ideal day that you would want, and that would build like a beautiful ideal year, and that would build your ideal life.
Small changes, incremental changes.
Yeah.
It's the Japanese philosophy. I think Kaizen. I think I forget. studied it. It's instead of making big drastic changes, you make small changes which over time will achieve a desired result.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh yeah, that's actually a smart way to go about it, right?
Yeah. True.
So when now coming back to when you made the decision, how'd your friends and family like how they take it? How's that? Are we
So
okay to open that can of
friends,
worms or
so friends kept saying,
Right.
"When are you taking us out for a free scuba dive?" I was
Okay.
like, one, it's not scuba dive,
Right.
and two, it's not free. You are going to pay double the
Right.
amount, okay? And
So I
family,
have to put up with your whininess.
yeah, and family, I that was a little tricky, as you can imagine, because they would also have expectations that
Right.
they would have expectations from their IITian daughter to build a certain kind of life.
Right.
But what all of us, we realized was that that wasn't my life.
Okay.
The life that they had imagined for myself, or even the society imagines for somebody who is, say, smart, well-to-do, and more often than not, it's a very the conventional life is, say, you're in one place, wherever it may be, and say you travel once in 3 months, if not more, and you have a certain sense of stability, and that is what they look at as a meaningful, successful life. And then you keep growing and you build a family and you are happy.
Right.
When you just break it down, and for me personally, it was, I tried to ease them into it.
Okay.
So even though I knew in my heart that, hey, like, this is what I really, really want to pursue and I want to do this, I would try to ease them into it. That, yeah, this is just, for a few months. I want to do this next course, or I want to, like, learn a little bit more.
Right.
And they were always so fascinated by what I would do, and they
Right.
would keep sharing that with everybody else around them, and
Right.
say, it's really amazing to, despite their reservations and the expectations that they had from me, it's really amazing, and it gives you these goosebumps or this beautiful feeling
Right.
when you see a video that you had sent them the
Right.
previous
And they
evening.
forward it to others and their
Yeah,
relatives
and on
and
their status,
right. Okay.
saying a nice message, that,
Right.
oh,
Right. Right.
look at my daughter, she is going to these depths in the ocean, and they
Right.
would be proud, so that's their way of saying that, hey, we are proud of you and we support you, and despite us not understanding one bit about what it is that you're doing and what is the life that you're building. One more thing that really helps here is, Deepak, which I have finally figured out, is how to how to do this in a way that it also makes financial sense. Now, as an instructor and having learned a lot of things related to the business side of things, and when I shared with my father just a few days ago, when I did the math for how much revenue was generated in the last 2 months,
Right.
and when I shared that with him, it was a very beautiful moment. And he, once again, they shared their blessings with me,
Right.
saying, this is just the beginning, and we hope that you make a lot of progress.
Right.
So those external validations and the sense of knowing that, okay, our daughter will be taken care of by herself financially, she'll have a roof over her head, and she's happy doing what she's loving to do,
Right.
that eventually, like, makes sense
But
for them as well.
did they instill that in you like when you were being raised, like the sense that you need to achieve financial independence as an adult, like when you're growing up? Because when parents, because I'm a parent, so that's something which I try to now. I try to instill that in both my kids. I mean, yeah, my son is just 9 months, it's too early. But with my daughter, I keep trying to drill into her slowly that, independence is very important. Independence is very important. There's no harm in asking for help, but independence is very important. Was that something that was taught to you? Because we like we come from a generation where a lot of girls were raised with the idea that your end goal is to become a wife slash mother, right? Not achieve financial independence. So,
It was similar for me, what you just mentioned.
right.
This these last few years, again, I've had to work a lot on this limiting belief or this resistance, from within myself that there was when it came to finances, money. Because there's actually two aspects to this. One is that because of a lot of reasons, we feel that, making money or asking for money is bad, or rich people are bad, and this and that, like we sometimes feel, and we associate money with something which is, like that,
Greed.
yeah, greed, and you can only make money in a way that is not the right way to go about things, right? So I've had to work a lot on these aspects as well by myself in the last few years, like after I was 30, right? And I was like, okay, this is not working for me. I need to work on it. What I personally did was that I really looked at how my money beliefs, they connected with my self-worth.
Right.
That, and it took me a long time, despite being one of the pioneers in freediving and one of the people who does something so unique and adds a lot of value even in other people's lives if she were to teach it to them. But it took me a long time to be comfortable saying that, hey, this is what I'm offering you,
Right.
and because I know the value of what I'm offering you, this is how much money it's going to cost.
Okay.
And the other thing is about really understanding that, hey, money is just a tool. And the more you ignore or say that, hey, I'm not looking for money, or I'm not looking for to build wealth, you are still coming from a place, in my now very strong opinion, you're coming from a place of feeling that, hey, I don't deserve that money, or I don't deserve to create that wealth for myself and the people around me. So
Okay.
that's what I would want to do, that create value and wealth for everybody around me,
Okay.
for everybody around me, and as much as possible.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
There's the whole question, like especially in India, there's the whole the end struggle of stability versus risk, right? So it's get the stable job, put your head down, work, make money, support, and then slowly maybe you might grow eventually in that stable job. There's nothing adventurous about it. What you've done is this is a very risky, like not just risky in the inherent physical risk that exists in the profession. It's risky financially, it's risky physically. There are a whole lot of factors to it, right? So that tussle is always going to be there. And for some people, I can tell you for me, I could tomorrow consider switching careers into this because I have a certain stability in my life and I come from a certain
Yes.
amount of financial means, right? And I'm not ashamed in admitting that. I'm not ashamed of admitting that. But there are a lot of people who don't have that. For them, it would be a much more difficult choice. Wouldn't you say? I mean,
Um, I agree in the
right.
sense that it is, when you talk about risk and stability, you can only take risks when you have a certain platform or a certain level of privilege, I'd say, to even think about going
Right.
after your inner voice and listening to your heart and doing what you
Right,
really
right,
want.
right. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that, And so, having said that, I do recognize the privilege that I come from and the people who I could rely on
Right.
when when I exhausted all my savings
Right.
in this journey.
Okay.
There came a point
Okay.
right after diving to 40 meters, by the way.
Right.
And it was, like a conflict. I was like, okay, on one hand, I'm making progress in my
Right.
diving journey. And then when I look my bank balance, it's like, babe, show me some love. And the whole idea is that it's always possible
Right.
to not allow who you were or your story to define you.
Okay.
I often catch myself, even now, when I think to myself that, hey, I see myself complaining or making excuses for certain things which I know are in my hand. If I want to get that 20-minute strength workout done, that is in my hand. There's no other way. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. Only my
Right.
excuses. And recognizing and taking ownership, taking complete responsibility of your life choices as brutally as possible, that is the first step to even opening this possibility or even thinking that, hey, am I where I want to be?
Right.
And risk and stability, I would say it's subjective
Okay.
because, as for example, Tony Robbins puts it, that there are these 6 psychological needs that people have, and 2 of them are, so one of them is I think certainty or
Yeah.
stability,
Yeah. Stability.
and
Yeah.
then the other is just the next one is uncertainty or this
Right.
surprise or this element of newness.
Right.
So
Right.
we need both. We
Yeah.
need both.
Yeah, I suppose it's striking that balance. But then again,
Yes.
one does require a significant amount of self-awareness to know, to actually look within. You've been able to look within and recognize points where, things which are in your control, and if you're faulting and if it's purely an internal thing, you have that self-awareness. And I think it's very important
Yes.
to cultivate that in individuals.
Very true. It's very true. It can be very simple.
Right.
It can be very simple, not easy. It's just about whenever you are about to say something or do something, just taking a step back and saying, "Oh, where did that come from?
Okay. Okay.
Where did that come from?" And just having that sense of awareness and a little bit of separation from your thoughts, emotions, your physical state, mental state, just a little bit of distance and observing everything as it is and just taking everything as it is and not getting too involved in the, say, if you're feeling sick or tired, like, not, that doesn't need to define you.
Okay.
Of course, you listen to your body, you do what needs to be done, but it does not define you.
Okay.
And whatever it is, you can always keep walking on your path while being aware that, hey, you know what, today I'm not at my 100%.
Okay.
And especially in free diving, what happens is when you go out there and when you dive, the the whole idea is that you want to do your best for that particular day
Right.
in however you're feeling on that particular day in terms of your physical abilities, your mental state, and wherever you are, you just want to do your best and keep going. And
Right.
yes, awareness is again one of the key initial steps
Okay.
to I'm losing words right now. Yeah,
Okay.
awareness is the first key step, to unfolding
Right.
and just being at peace with yourself, I guess.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. So you mentioned about fitness and working out. Like any particular exercises that you do which help you, get better at freediving? Like any particular regime that you follow?
Yes, and I would like to follow it m- more consistently
Okay.
in this year
Okay.
than I have been.
Okay.
The whole idea here in freediving is that you need strength or muscle capacity which is actually trained in a high intensity manner as opposed to just like an endurance way. So what I try to do is, so more often than not, like a simple strength routine wherever I am, like with no equipment, just like these bands that I have, and in a way that it is like high intensity for me in that moment.
Right.
And sometimes as free divers, we like to combine these exercises or even movement with a little bit of apnea,
Okay.
breath holding.
Okay.
So on the days when I feel very, very energetic and motivated, I might do a few of my even strength exercises. Imagine like a few push ups, or I usually do knee push ups. So imagine doing those push ups while holding your breath. Or imagine doing 10 squats or going on a walk while you're holding your breath. So these are also some of the things that you can do to build the body's capacity to function while there is limited oxygen supply.
Okay. Coming back to what you said earlier about, the struggles you faced when trying to, let's say, monetize this new career path that you've taken. Did you face any pushback because you were a female diver in this field? Like, especially in India, like when people find out that, female instructor or anything. Is there, have you felt that as opposed to your male counterparts?
I have.
You have.
I
Okay.
have. And the sense is that, uh, especially when it comes to, just to give you an example, very recently I was with a friend and he was sort of assisting me on the courses, and he is a master's level freediver and I'm an instructor. And somebody said